Michael Hernandez here of MLH Media, and we are here today, Road to A1 Combat 24, and I'm here with the man at the helm of it all, Mr. Tom Anderson over there in the Sacramento area, Northern California. How's it going today, Tom?
It's going good, man. I just got out of the pool, so I'm not complaining.
Yeah, you got to keep cool over there. It's like 100+ degree weather over there right now in Northern California.
It's always 100+, man. I grew up in Stockton, so this is nothing new, But yeah, you just find ways to deal with it. So it's cool.
And I mean, not only is it hot over there for A1 Combat, but it is hot over there in Sacramento, and it's just been heating up for you guys card by card. But this one, A1 Combat 24, I mean, I know you've been saying that you guys have been putting together cards that have just been, but I feel like this one has just really been the pinnacle, the creme de la creme, as they say. I mean, you have 3 title bouts that are headlining, but then you also have Vince Murdoch, a former UFC vet. How do you feel about the way that this card is formed?
Yeah, yeah, man, I've been actually having a lot of people stop me and say, man, this card is sick, which they've never done that before. So, yeah, it magically comes together every now and then. I pencil out the bouts that I really want to put on the show, and we like doing the Night of Champions. And Dwight, he hasn't fought in a while. I've been having a really hard time finding him an opponent on the bantamweight title, and I got a guy, right? Kale from Hawaii, and then Morali, also, not the easiest guy to match. And it's crazy, man, because here's what's crazy about that fight. Ryan Loder just won the Ultimate Fighter, right? Yeah. Ryan Loder's 7-1. His only loss was to Troy Green at the Hard Rock. Now, Troy's coming back to battle for the welterweight title against Morali, who's a badass. So I'm just going, man, that's going to be a great fight. I mean, a really high-level fight. Dwight's, 13-2, and he's taking on Kale. That's an awesome fight. And then Terrence Saturn, who's been just working his ass off and fighting his ass off, and he's got to. I've been getting some shit over Carlos Puente Jr. And I asked the people, I said, well, did you watch the tape on Carlos Puente Jr.? Have you actually watched him fight, or are you just looking at a piece of paper? Because there's a big damn difference, dude.
Like, a lot of people do not realize that. And he has almost 20 professional fights. Like, Carlos Puente Jr. is game as they come. Yeah. What?
Watch the fight between Carlos Puente Jr. and Victor Rosas. Badass fight. Fought to a draw. Stand-up battle. I mean, it was crazy. And I said, that's the guy for Terrence, man. That right there, Carlos deserves a shot. And Terrence, of course, has been working his ass off and fighting a lot for the promotion. I said, that's a badass fight. I have no idea who's going to win, but that is a great, great, great fight. I mean, Carlos has some hands, man. So,
both of those gentlemen.
I always get, people are, oh, well, what about this and what about that? I said, dude, it's not all about what's on the paper. Or you're just looking at Tapology. Is that how you're, making your opinions about shit? I said, because it doesn't tell the tale of a lot of fighters. This guys take short notice fights and stuff like that, or they make dumb decisions. But yeah, you got to watch the tape, and you got to know the fighters to put these cards together. But yeah, this card is sick. Cody Vogels and Abdulkabir Kaldar, they were supposed to fight on the last card. Kaldar got sick and had to pull, so that was a natural to go on this one. Then MMA Gold's got their 2 debut guys, Rafael Vega and Roberto Villa, and they're fighting guys with a few fights, but they're badasses too, man. So yeah, I mean, I'm really stoked. And then the Carlene Chandler and Joy Paldell saga continues, man.
That fight heated up, especially with Jaylene getting that win over there in her title win, I believe, in Arizona. And now, I mean, she's kind of sitting. Would you say she's the number 1 contender? She's got to be, right?
Yeah, and if you watch Joy's last fight against Kea, she's working really hard, and she really wants that title. That's gonna be an awesome fight. And then I had Jaylene's coach call me and said, "Hey, we want the winner." So we'll see. We'll see. It's pretty interesting. And let's see.
No, and not only that, but I mean, let's go over to the amateurs. So we got Roberto, my apologies, Robert Lopez taking on Jeffrey Bonilla, and then we got Ramon Cornejo taking on Marius Taylor. Marius Taylor coming off a white hot knockout over there against Michael Seeley. I mean, those are a couple of guys that possibly you're probably going to be looking at to take over to that professional scene pretty soon, correct?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's really like, it's crazy that we were able to get enough fighters healthy, ready to fight all at the same time, and be able to get great opponents and match, just the matchmaking. A lot of the fights I didn't have to fight too hard to make, like, and that's when like the card gets its own synergy going, where it's like, man, made that fight, bam, made that fight, oh shit, made that, oh, that's a badass fight, he's like,
the wheels start clicking.
Yeah,
no, that makes sense. And honestly, it's crazy because it feels like this whole month of September is just action packed. I mean, not only you guys have your show, but then you have Bellator the next day. They're making their trip to San Diego. UFC Noche is the next week. It feels like that first couple of weeks of September is just action packed. So the fact that, like how you said, being able to keep all these gentlemen and ladies on the card and keeping it all together has been very, very, I mean, some would say blessed, but I mean, it's just been an awesome sight to see. And just getting to speak a little bit more about some possible other opportunities. I mean, you had some guys that recently got to compete on Dana White Contender Series, and Mr. Billy Brand and Mr. Ernie Juarez weren't able to come up with the victory over there. Is there a possibility we see them back in the A1 combat cage?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't talked directly to Billy. I was just giving these guys some space. I sent a couple notes to Ernie, and they need to get back on the horse, man. Get back on the horse, get in there, start fighting again, and then get back on Contenders next year, or maybe get called up directly. I mean, so yeah, I would imagine, they're going to need some more regional fights, and they've always done great. And, I love Ernie and Billy and, and Jack, too. So.
Yes, so let's speak a little bit about that. I mean, just this past Tuesday, you got to wear a little bit of what you felt happened over there on Tuesday night. And I mean, wow, I would probably say, if not one of the most competitive Dana White Contender Series fight this season, the most competitive. Jack Duffy, Nick Pavicini going at it. And I mean, I would say Jack Duffy walked away with the victory there. What were your feelings when you were watching it live?
Yeah, I thought Jack clearly won that fight. I don't know, sometimes with the judges, and I usually don't make comments. I certainly don't make comments about our show, but on that level, yeah, he won that fight. Sorry, he just did. He outstruck the guy. He did way more damage. I mean, I don't know what fight the judges were watching, and clearly Dana White felt the same way. He went right in the back room after the decision and told Jack that was bullshit, and offered him a chance, and didn't want to give Pacini the contract. Clearly, he didn't. He's like, no, I'm not going to give this guy. I'll give you guys a chance to fight again, so I can give it to Jack. I mean, that's how, right? Read between the lines. He's like, I want to give the contract to Jack, but he just got a bullshit decision. So you guys fight again, and we'll see what happens. So that's my own personal opinion. But I think anybody who watched that knows he got robbed, man, for sure.
And for you, as kind of the helm, as someone that has got to see kind of the front row as the work you put in, so many countless hours and nights of just continuous grinding. I mean, you have shows where you're back-to-back weeks. How has it felt for you to be able to really kind of get to see some of those fruits of your labor pay off? Like how we were saying, you got to see some of those guys make it to Dana White Contender Series. Got to see Ryan Loder, a man that was a star at A1 for his time, go over and win the Ultimate Fighter. Is that a pretty special feeling for you as kind of the guy that's running everything?
Yeah, it is. It for me, it kind of validates for me, like, okay, you're actually doing good in the world, like you're actually doing something that's productive and helpful by providing the platform and being on Fight Pass and doing a good job and putting on good shows and giving these guys good fights consistently. My first go around was last year. I was there when Peyton got his contract, and that was awesome, man. That was an awesome moment for me. I felt like, man, we finally, because I don't share the fame and all, the career that Urijah's had, even close, right? So that's my little piece. That's my little crumb of it is like, yes, we got to do all these fights with this guy, and look at him now,
It is definitely no crumb, Tom. Let me tell you that. And definitely is something to be very proud of. I mean, contending with some of the top organizations, besides from LFA, who obviously has had that UFC pipeline for quite some time. You guys were right up there with a lot of these organizations. And how does that mean for you? Like how you were saying, you barely kind of got into this MMA game and luckily been able to partner with the likes of Urijah Faber and some pretty prominent gyms in California. But that's got to feel pretty good for you as well to know like the areas you're hitting are pretty well as well. I mean, Northern California and Central California have been feeding A1 Combat pretty well these past couple of years.
Yeah, I mean, so LFA's been around. They're on show 100 and whatever. So is CFFC. So is Fury. So is Cage Warriors. They've been around way longer than us. They have way more money than us, and they should be stomping our ass. They should be. If they're not stomping our ass, what are they doing, right? We're little guys. We're the startup promotion, and that's why I get so excited when we get guys on Contenders or Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that, because we are getting our name out there. We are developing talent at that level that can go into the UFC. So, yeah, it's an uphill battle, man. I mean, it's not many people know. It's me and my wife run the whole thing. We run the entire promotion. I mean, we have people that help us with our graphics and stuff like that. But the day-to-day grind is two people.
Melissa and Tom, the ultimate powered couple over there, Northern California.
And so I laugh. I said, yeah, we're competing with LFA and we're competing with Fury. We're competing with all these guys, but it's me and you, man. So that's the way it is. Fuck it. Let's do it. Don't be afraid. So we kind of have that attitude. It's like, yeah, man. And we roll into the Hard Rock and there's 2,000 people there and it's sold out and people are going crazy, having a great time. That's my payoff, is to say, hey, we put this together. We did everything. We do the ticketing. We negotiate with the venues. We do the advertising. We do, I tow the cage to the show with my truck. It's mom and pop for sure.
I think Mr. Sean Carter, otherwise known by Jay-Z, said, all I need in this life and sin is me and my girlfriend. I think Tom Anderson lives up to that right as well. And I like how you said it. You're competing with all these organizations that have, like how you said, so many people on payroll or just so many people being able to assist. And you guys have been able to kind of do it with obviously the assistance from others from the outside looking in. But I mean, you guys kind of at the forefront and helm. Can you speak a little bit more, though, about some other possible names that are at A1 Combat right now that they may not be at that Contender Series level yet, but you see them rising up the crop? I mean, you got Christian Avalos, you have Bruno Souza. Is there any other names that you're kind of looking at where you're like, oh, man, they may be getting to that level up here pretty soon?
Yeah, Blake. I mean, there's a bunch of guys. Dom Ducharme. Phew, man, yeah, the guys. There's a bunch of guys with like 2-0, but you can tell like, wow, these guys are good. Like they're going to be coming up fast, and we just need to keep giving them opportunities and give them good opponents.
And that Dom Ducharme matchup, that's one that I'm really looking forward to, and I think fans should have circled on their lineup. I mean, Rafael Vega was your A1 welterweight champion, and then going up to the pro division, and now starting his career, wiping all that gold over from the amateurs and taking on a 2-0 Dom Ducharme. Can you kind of talk us into that matchup? A former Division I All-American over there, Dominic Ducharme, but obviously some heavy presence from Northern California MMA. But then Rafael Vega, MMA Gold, like how you said, one of their kind of starlets. It's definitely a match that fans should be looking forward to.
Yeah, I mean, Vega, they asked for that fight. We want a tough fight. And I said, I got a tough fight for you. And they looked at Tom and they said, yeah, that's a tough fight. Let's do it. And I was like, good on you, man. Good on you for not taking some bullshit. I want an easy fight. I want this. No, I don't want to fight that guy. I want to fight the ring card girl. You know what I mean? Like, I don't put up with that stuff. I hate that stuff. I tell those guys, you guys want an easy fight, you're calling the wrong guy because I'm not going to give it to you. I don't care who you are or who you know or who's your coach. It's not going to happen, dude. So yeah, I love it when guys do that. They're like, yeah, that is and that's really, you need to fight tough guys. You need to have tough fights. You know, you need to, like, look at Christian Avalos. He's not turning down anybody, man. Is he in my weight class? Yep. Okay, I'll fight him. Okay. I mean, and that's the attitude I think these guys need because when you do go to Contender Series, you're not fighting guys from California. You're fighting guys from all over the world. And they're bringing the toughest prospects that they can find to fight you. So you better have your shit wired. You know, you better have had some tough fights. So that's why Vega and Disarm, they're going to do very well because they're not backing down off of that. You know, they're like, yeah, give me a tough fight because I'm good. I know I'm good. So,
I mean, speaking about Christian Avalos, I have the nickname for him, the King of Tachi Palace. And just to talk a little bit more about someone that's rocked Tachi Palace in the past, Tina Black, Velasco Machado, your current strawweight champion. I mean, knockout of the year contender. Where do you feel she lies in possibly being that next gal up to the Contender Series?
She's really, really, really hard to find an opponent. And she just fought for Invicta. And I didn't feel bad. I was like, good for you. You got to fight, Tina, because I'm scouring the earth to try and find somebody to fight her, you know? Yeah, I mean, she should be in. I mean, I've talked to her coaches, and they're like, yeah, well, she has a few things to work on. But yes, I expect her to be in the UFC too, you know? I'm surprised she didn't get that call yet.
100%, especially with that knockout win. And then, I mean, even in her loss on the Contender Series, a contentious matchup against Piera Rodriguez, and then going on a pretty good run over there in the regional scene now, obviously, like how we just stated, one of the best knockouts that we have seen this past year. And then now over there at Invicta. But is there any possibility that we're going to get to see a couple more championship matchups in the loom here coming soon? I know that you are going to be making your return back to the Central Valley. Any matchups that you're possibly looking at to make the main event for those nights?
Not yet. I mean, we have our list that we're working on right now, but nothing I could really talk about yet. I mean, it's kind of blue sky. You know, Bruno Souza, obviously, we want to see him fight again. He's not the easiest guy in the world to match, you know. So a lot of times we'll have to start going outside of California and Nevada and bring guys in from Oregon or Washington or Colorado or whatever. So, yeah, just a process.
100%. And for guys like that, where you're having to bring in that talent from outside the state, it definitely can be very difficult to get them to want to travel all the way over to California, make the weight cut, and do all these things like how an athlete is supposed to have to do when it comes fight time. But Tom Anderson, you have been an awesome guest as always on the program so far. Just a couple of last closing questions here for you. I mean, the UFC has obviously been lighting it up this past year in terms of pay-per-views. Peyton Talbot has been a big part of that. Where do you feel his next performance will lie? Where do you think the UFC will call him to perform next? Do you think it's going to be Madison Square Garden? Do you think he's going to be back in Vegas? Where do you think Peyton Talbot will get the call next?
You know, I think he's hard to match right now. I think he's got a lot of heat and a lot of guys like Joe Rogan and everybody saying this guy's a badass. And then you watch him and he's just smoking people. And so I think it is the UFC, but maybe not so easy right now to find him a fight. I mean, I'm sure they'll find him somebody, but it's going to start getting harder and harder for him, for them to match him. But yeah, I mean, probably in the next 6 months, I would imagine we'll see him pop up again.
Combat you just started back up over there at Sacramento. Their first kind of year in training, you got a former A1 Combat veteran in Hector Fajardo, and obviously A1 Combat commentator Corey McKenna over there. What are your thoughts on all the programs so far commencing, and are you going to be keeping your eye on that, possibly looking forward for some A1 Combat talent?
Yeah, I mean, I talk to Corey and Hector all the time, and it's awesome, man. They're just getting their first classes going, and we volunteer to produce some shows over there, and some, if they wanted to do some boxing show, whatever, we'll pitch in too and help out wherever we can. But yeah, we'll just see. I mean, they're just getting it going, so we'll see what kind of talent they start to develop.
Has there been anybody that you wanted to thank in this last segment? I know you said it's you and your wife that are doing a lot of the hard work on the ground over there, but I know you have a lot of people that also have been helping and contribute. Anybody in particular you wanted to thank?
Yeah, I mean, Aaron ran, and everybody. I mean, everybody on the production crew. Casey Sanders and all the guys who help out to run the fights in the back, and Brian Pritchard, who's always there to run the security on the cage. The girls in the front, Morgan and Stewart, and we got some really good loyal people, that really help us out, and I really appreciate them that we're able to put on level of show that we're able to put on with a very small team. But they're super dedicated, and we're always trying to improve the show. We're always going, well, what if we do this next week or the next show? What if we do this? What if we move this from, so there's always that positive input of let's just every show try and make it a little bit better. You look at our first A1 Combat 1, or if you go back to Firepower, the first pro show that we did, and you look at it now, they're worlds apart. I mean, that's production and the lighting and the sound and just the whole presentation and then the level of the fights, So we just try and make sure that people, get their money's worth, the fans, and we're presenting stuff that they want to see, and the fighters are getting the opportunities that they want, and that's pretty much it, man. I mean, you're never going to get rich doing this, ever. So you never in a million years are you going to get rich doing regional MMA, pro MMA. It's just not going to happen. So you better be doing it for some reason. And that's why I enjoy, seeing the guys on Contender Series and on TUF, and, watching Peyton's career, because that is satisfying. It is, as I get older, start headed for the old folks home, man, I can look back and go, yeah, I did some good. We did some cool shit. So.
You definitely have done I would say your fair share of quote unquote cool shit, from running shows over there in Vegas to now running it all over there for A1 Combat over there in Northern California and Central California. Always a pleasure to have you on, Mr. Tom Anderson. Thank you so much for your time today, my man.
Thank you.
Michael Hernandez of MLH Media. We are going to be signing out over here in Central California with my guy over there in NorCal, Mr. Tom Anderson, the head over there at A1 Combat.